There is something to be truly said about the team concept in air traffic control. The sector team is the embodiment of coordinating and communication amongst individuals to facilitate a common goal, i.e. move traffic safely throughout the sector. So today's presentation is hashtag squad goals. This is what you want to achieve when you are working in the sector team, whether you're the A side, the D side, and the R side. In more detail, the R side and D side in this presentation. But today we will have a little something for everyone on the east side of Sector 4. I figured we would return back to the northeast corner, Lima 462, and explore some concepts that is helpful to the D side and the R side in today's presentation. Welcome back. I hope you guys are all well. I'm excited to get this presentation underway. We'll learn some fun stuff. Let's go to a bulleted list and see what we got ahead. I'll talk to you soon. Let's hit the ground running, which is the title of today's bulleted list. Today's presentation will have opportunities for you to apply techniques, insert some phraseology. We'll pause it. You guys can take control of this and practice some of the concepts, techniques, and tools that we have taught in the past presentations. So we will start this presentation when we go to this sector with something to do as D or R4, which is good. It starts off that spark, getting us into the mood of coordinating and clearing. We'll explore the why. With some of the things that we do so arbitrarily, we take at just face value, but we never actually find the source as to why we're able to do the things we are. So that means we're going to be learning some new concepts in local directives in the 7110.65, the SOP, San Juan Center SOP in the 7110. Of course, we're going to maintain positive separation. That's always our goal. So even though we'll leave some of the situations and instances open-ended, our goal should always be maintain positive separation. So with that being said, very easy list of objectives. Let's get off to the sector. So ready, set, jets, go. I will see you in Sector 4. Starting off in Sector 4, looks like we have a target here on the east side of the airspace going north on Lima 462. They check in, look, San Juan Center, Virgin 34, flight level 233, climbing flight level 260. We're going to check mark that they're on frequency, right 23 as they passed it. And we're going to call them radar, Virgin 34, San Juan Center, radar contact, say O-bike estimate, Mach number, and altitude request at O-bike. Now, here's a technique. We know if we're going to follow this team concept that we kind of alluded to in the beginning of the presentation, we as an R side, since we have the power to talk to aircraft directly on the radio and see them on radar, it's in our best interest with the nature of this particular flight plan to get the information that D4 needs right away. We know that D4 needs the O-bike estimate, the Mach number, and the requested altitude. If you look at the route of flight, they're flying Lima 462 to Nadu, and they're going to make a right-hand turn onto Mike 576. So there's not a lot of time to get this coordination process done. So as a matter of technique, in your opening statement calling them radar, telling them, hey, you're radar contact, start the ball rolling on the coordination items that D4 needs. If D4 is monitoring you, they'll have the strip off set and ready to coordinate. Just a technique there. You can take it or leave it. And they would come back with Virgin 34 O-bike at 19er11. There, check mark there, flight level 350, requested Mach 0.84. Perfect. And Virgin 34, maintain Mach 0.84. Climb and maintain flight level 350. Verify after O-bike, flying Mike 576 to Arcadia. And that's something that you hear all the time at the sector when you're dealing with aircraft leaving San Juan Center's airspace, going to New York Center's airspace, over the deep ocean, over the South Atlantic. And sometimes we do it, but remember we talked about asking why. What is the reason we do that? Well, if you look no further than the San Juan SOP, as you see there, we circled in black and written in black, verify. And here is our backing document. The route of flight must be verified for all aircraft entering San Juan CRAP airspace from foreign facilities that will enter MNPS or New York Center's waters airspace. Route verification by direct pilot pilot controller communication must extend to 60 west latitude. And to paraphrase, other than KTOC, the first en route controller to talk to the aircraft will do the verifying. So it's backed by our SOP. It's not necessarily in the LOA. It is a San Juan local kind of thing. So there it is. You verify the route of flight. Ideally, you should get all of that stuff out of the way so the strip is prepared for coordination for the D side, and the D side can go to work, and you, as the R side, can continue on with your other duties. It's not good to leave too many things pending. If you do it all at once, the verification and getting all the coordination items right away, you are completely done with that aircraft minus a request or absent something else happening. But usually it's done. They gave you all that you needed, and then now it's on the D side as your team member to take care of that role. So just a technique, also just some explanations as to why we do what we do. So pretty interesting stuff. So let's keep this sector going. We see we still have some work ahead of us. There's some strips out here in the bay that we're going to address. So let's keep this going. As promised, we have some items for both the D side and R side. Now, we saw exactly what the R side had going on, right? So you as the D side, what you got from the R side was all the information to prepare the strip for coordination, whether you were monitoring or you are now reading the strip as the contents were written by the R side. Maybe you were doing something else. So click, offsets the strip, right? We know how to do that. And we get on the shout line and we call New York Center the Apollo sector. New York Center, Apollo, San Juan Center estimates, Apollo, Virgin 34, O-Bike, time and level. 1911, flight level 350, Mach 0.84. You circle all that stuff accordingly. We'll wait for the 35 to be read back as approved, which we see flight level 350 approved. For you, oh, see, this is good. We're combining calls. Well, these New York Centers are keeping us on the line, and they're going to hit us up with 1, 2, 3. So let's just play the role here. No need for a script. Air France 498, we would say Air France 498, O-Bike time and level. O-Bike at 19030, flight level 280, Mach 0.82. O-Bike at 1930, flight level 280 approved. Gamma Jet 419 Daewin time and level. 1924, flight level 410, Mach 0.83. We would read back. Mach 0.83, flight level 410, Daewin 1924 approved. And KLM 128, or 728, excuse me. KLM 728 time and level. Estimating O-Bike 1935, flight level 360, Mach 0.84. Mach 0.84, O-Bike 1935, flight level 360 is approved. And if you want, you can make a check mark as to what time they were requesting. And there it is, easy as pie. Now you might think to yourself, hey, is Virgin 34 conflict with Air France 498? Because we know that they're not cruising at 28. They are going to reach some arbitrary point at 28 prior to our airspace. Well, if there was such a conflict, New York Center would say, hey, make sure they're level. But Virgin 34 brings up another technique, this time for the R side. It would be in your best interest to let them fly the route of flight. Do not give them O-Bike and then join Mike 576 to Arcadia. Let them fly northbound to Nadu, then make a right-hand turn, northeastbound turn to O-Bike, because that has an advantage to it. They are going to gain some track miles as opposed to cutting the corner. As we know, the shortest distance between 2 points in space is a line. Let them fly that triangle, make that triangle instead of going that short distance. Let them fly Lima 462 to Nadu, then Mike 576, to have as much track mileage as they can to get to this altitude. Boeing 744, a heavy Boeing 747-400 is going to reach 35 prior to O-Bike, so worry not. But if there was an apprehension, we just addressed it now. So good job with that. Red A, mark the time. Strips are looking good. Now we're going to take our role further as a D side and really come up huge to be a radar associate, especially on this precarious Lima 462 Yayu Nadu Bay situation. So I'll see you at the next slide. Before we even had the opportunity to do any pre-planning with the strips that we just approved, we hear the phone ring, San Juan Center, BC Bird Lambkin estimate, JetBlue 743. Oh boy, so we have more work to do as D4. There it is. We pull the strip up. We would place it in the bay. JetBlue 743, Lambkin time and level. Lampkin 1920, climbing flight level 360. Okay, D-side, take a pause and think about what can you improve. Okay, so if we paused and you took a look at it, placing that in time sequence, we would add roughly anywhere from 8 to 10 minutes to get a NADU crossing time. So 1930, we get kind of tangled up with the Air France 498, 4 minutes of crossing at NADU. Or, yeah, 4 minutes crossing at NADU. So 27 or 26 is our best bet. So that's what we would come back with. JetBlue 743, 1920 at Lampkin, climbing flight level 270 is approved. Good job with that. Fairly simple, nothing too complex. Maintaining that positive separation until that aircraft comes up on radar can be climbed by the R side. And what makes it abundantly clear and abundantly obvious to the R side, if you are not able to communicate with them about this interim altitude of 27 for JetBlue 743, your climb 270 in the bay would make it clear that, hey, 4 minutes of crossing, reference Air France 498 crossing at 28, boom. That nonverbal coordination that makes that sector team run exceptionally well. So very good with that. Yet again, another opportunity for you to practice traffic search, adding your plus times. We took a pause, you did it, we talked about it. Let's keep moving on and let's see if we can get some pre-planning done before these aircraft start coming on frequency. As we see there, Virgin 34 is making their way northbound. We can pretend that we had to move the strip out of the way just for the sake of room here on our little PowerPoint screen. But if you want, you can easily practice your radar service termination, all that good stuff, the frequency change. So here we are. We have JetBlue 743. We have the good strip published now. And our cue is to pre-plan the descent, or the descent in this point. So GammaJet 419. So take a look and see who is trafficked for GammaJet 419, knowing that they are going to land VC Bird. Now, as you notice, we had a call from Bird and we could have easily given them the estimate for GammaJet 419. We held off on that because we did not do a thorough traffic search and we did not pre-plan an altitude. That's okay. Sometimes it's better not to combine your calls and your transmissions if you are not ready to do so. If you're not in a position to prepare the strip for coordination and ensure that the coordination that you are about to do is going to ensure positive separation, then just hold off on that. You can call back. We don't have too much going on here. So just remember, if you're not ready to coordinate, don't, but make sure that when you hang up the phone or relatively soon upon hanging up the phone and before taking on any more work, you should prepare the strip for coordination and prepare yourself to ensure that positive separation. So that being said, GammaJet 419, what is the lowest altitude we can go to? If we're taking a look here, don't get too distracted as you go on down, because your first bet might be say, oh, hey, 29. I can go down to 29 in the NADU area, but look, one strip above, KLM 728 is at 36. So what you want to do is make a nice notation there in box 26, that general area of the route string of the flight progress trip. Down arrow, okay, 370 reference, KLM 728. Now, this bay is kind of small, but if there was a whole bunch of aircraft all entering the airspace, at least the Yayu Nadu area, at the same time, we can imagine that that GammaJet strip might be a few strips up or down of KLM 728's position, depending upon what time aircraft are crossing the common fix in the fixed posting. So just remember, it's cool to be explicit and say, hey, down arrow, descent, okay, pretty much implied there, 370 reference KLM 728. Good. Now, other things to consider. That's the initial descent. Keep thinking to yourself, well, what altitude should I coordinate GammaJet at? And how will I tell the R side, whether explicitly or through flight progress trip, a nonverbal style of coordination, about the traffic situation head-on JetBlue 743 departing VC Bird? These are all things that you want to keep in the back of your mind. Keep no secrets, as we say. So good job with that. And let's keep these positive vibes going. We are becoming great teammates, and let's keep perfecting that concept. Back at the sector now, and here we really are going to open it up, put you in that sandbox, and let you do your thing. So let's set some context to it. San Juan Center, JetBlue 743, flight level 250, flight level 270 past Lambkin. And we also hear very shortly, maybe abruptly after San Juan Center, Gamma Jet 419, day 410. We see we have the time of 1924. Just to give you a frame of reference, the Virgin is long gone. And now what we approved as the D side, we are now watching the R side start to be introduced to them entering the airspace. So our side, do your thing. So a couple things are at play here. We can both radar identify the aircraft. So if you want to pause at any point in time as we continue discussion, do so. Do it, put some action into this scenario, and then hit play again and we'll talk about it. So if you pause the video, welcome back. I would suggest to radar identify both these aircraft. There's no negatives there. JetBlue 743, San Juan Center, radar contact 10 miles north Lambkin. Maintain flight level 270, right? I'm going to respect and maintain the positive separation there for what the D side had for me. So 250, I'll validate the mode C. No big there. Let them know that they're on frequency and write the climbing arrow. No big deal. And now we get back to Gamma Jet. Gamma Jet 419, San Juan Center, radar contact passing Daywind. Standby lower. Or I could even go Gamma Jet 419, descend and maintain flight level 370. Expect Lambkin at flight level 210. Get that descent going because, like we talked about in our last video, the length of Lima 462 that lies within San Juan Center's airspace is only 154 miles. So when you have aircraft that are extremely high in the 39 to 40 range and anything above that, you do not have a lot of time to get aircraft descended, especially when you're talking about crossing altitudes around 21 or 19, excuse me. And then look at the D side. We filled in a little bit of context for you. We pre-planned flight level 210, which is a kind of a sweet spot altitude. So continuing on, those are the things you would do. Now, here's where the R side becomes a teammate again. Now, if you remember, what did we do for Virgin 34? One of our first transmissions. Well, we were able to do it all in one, so you can even see even I did it all in one. I radar identified Gamma Jet, and now let's go right back to JetBlue. And what do you think you should do as the R side to help the D side get what they have to get done? So a little pause. So if you did pause it, I would suggest start getting those coordination items ready. So I would say JetBlue 743, say Daywind estimate, Mach number, and altitude request. And they'd probably come back with JetBlue 743, plan on Mach 0.78 estimating, Daywind 1939er, requesting flight level 360. And there you go. Now, you have just enabled D4 to get that coordination done. And if you think about it logically, from a teammate perspective, the quicker you get that information to them, the quicker in theory that they will get that information to York, the strip will be flattened, the coordination completed, and more time they can devote to you to help you with traffic situations, looking at the radar scope, advising you of things, because as you see, we still have a couple more things in play here that require your attention both as an R side and D side, because we are seeing a mix of non-radar to radar environment and vice versa. So two heads are definitely better than one because there are two different narratives being published here. A non-radar narrative that we have to respect, and obviously what is going on in the moving pictures, the radar scope. So very good with that. And like I said, it's good to start the Gamma Jet down knowing you have 154 miles to play with, and that aircraft has to lose 20,000 feet. So yeah, good job with that. Let's keep it going. Pause anytime you like, go over things again, practice your strip marking. Anything that just keeps you engaged and forward thinking as we negotiate this situation. Back at the sector, we moved a little bit forward in time, and look, we see JetBlue 743 leveled off at 27. We were still respecting what we had done. In the meantime, we coordinated it. And if I were the D side, I would say, hey, 27 is good reference KLM, and obviously you have whatever's going on with the Gamma Jet 419er. But just remember that KLM 728 is out there. They're coming over O-Bike and joining Lima 335 south westbound, and you have to respect them because they are en route transiting at 36. So just some friendly reminders here, the kind of cues that you have freed yourself up as a D side to let the R side know directly. No need to write on the strips. You are having that dialogue with them. You are being a true radar and non-radar associate, if that makes any sense. And you see we have two triangles there, northeast of the O-Bike area. Now, triangles all appear in microyards. So our radar system, our automation system, a triangle will appear as a target that microyards has some confidence in thinking, hey, I think this is a target like a legitimate aircraft or a legitimate something out there that I am tracking, and I have some tolerances, and with every sweep of a surveillance source, whether that be radar, ADS-B, that triangle will turn into a slash, right? A left leaner or a right leaner, maybe a code associated with it. And then when we give the proper code, when we change the aircraft's code, going through the whole radar identification thing like we did in chapter 5, then you'd get the full data block and everything like that. But sometimes when they are entering our airspace from completely non-radar, where there's no overlapping radar coverage, they will start as triangles. So we can deduce, based upon position correlation and what we are expecting, that those aircraft are KLM 728 and Air France 498 respectively, going from north to south. Okay, so Gamma Jet 419, we are still respecting the 37 because of KLM 728 at flight level 360. Now, we know that the differences in time can vary, right? New York Center would have to call us if a estimate differed by 3 minutes or more, but they can be anywhere from 2 minutes sooner or 2 minutes later than the time published on the strip, which I tried to simulate and put in context because we are about to introduce to you a concept and a chapter we have not yet explored, chapter 8, which is the oceanic non-radar chapter. So with that being said, how can we still efficiently run an operation knowing that those two targets are more than likely the aircraft that we expect them to be at? They're transitioning from the non-radar to radar environment. The radar is starting to interrogate the target, at least a primary target at the very least. And can we keep JetBlue 743 climbing? And can we keep Gamma Jet 419 descending? Because they are going to pass each other really soon. And we should keep the people who want to climb climbing and the people who want to get down descending. So here we are. And now we have even more convincing evidence. San Juan Center, Air France 499, level 280 north, O-Bike. And we hear San Juan, KLM 728, level 360 northeast, O-Bike, flight level 360. He's so nice, he said it twice. Now, freeze. What rule can you apply to use radar separation here? Because we are seeing the transition from non-radar to the radar environment with KLM and Air France, but we still have Gamma Jet 419 and JetBlue 743 who have since been radar identified, and we need to now break the vertical separation that we are ensuring, the vertical non-radar positive separation, because it is no longer efficient. The efficiency of what was pre-planned and warned to us by the D side, who we are very thankful for that they did that, is now diminishing, and now it's becoming detrimental to the operation. We need to get Gamma Jet down, and we need to get JetBlue 743 up. So hold that thought. Let's go to a bulleted list, and let's take a look at a rule that you can use and be armed with and use it as a shield and an efficient tool to keep aircraft up or down while in this mixed environment situation. Okay, let's go and take a look at it. Really exciting here. If you look in chapter 855, radar identification application. Radar separation standards may be applied between radar identified aircraft and another aircraft not yet radar identified that is in transit from oceanic airspace or non-radar offshore airspace into an area of known radar coverage where radar separation is applied, provided. Cool. Before we get to what is provided for us, those conditions that we have to follow, let's think this little paragraph here, this opening paragraph to this section of the 7110 applies to our situation almost perfectly. So we are allowed to apply radar separation standards, good, 5 miles, that's our standard, between radar identified aircraft, good, JetBlue, and GammaJet, and another aircraft not yet identified, KLM Air France, that is in transit from oceanic airspace or non-radar offshore airspace. Good, that's exactly what they're doing. They are leaving the non-radar offshore environment into an area of known radar coverage. There's known radar coverage with along Lima 462 in that area, right? We know that a couple sensors take a look into that area. ADS-B is a surveillance source out there, and we know that the Pico Dieste radar surveils out there, obviously, because we're looking at 2 targets on the scope already, and we actually see tentative targets, right? MicroArts believes that those targets are real and are a potential target to be an aircraft. So we are satisfying that. So let's read what the conditions are. Direct radio communications maintained with one of the aircraft involved, and there's ability to communicate with the other. Perfect. There is. We have New York Air Rink to talk to those guys we have not been talking to. Let's say they didn't even check in. We can reach out on Air Rink, and we can have New York Center reach out on CPDLC, right? Controller Pilot Data Link connection. So there's an ability to talk to everybody. We have 2 on frequency, and we have ability to talk with the other 2. The transiting aircraft is RNAV equipped. Most all aircraft that transition from the oceanic area from Europe through New York Center's airspace will be RNAV equipped. I can't think of a situation where I've ever seen an aircraft not being RNAV equipped entering our airspace, from the ocean in that particular area. The performance of the radar system is adequate. If we went back to chapter 5, one of the first paragraphs in radar identification is to see if the radar is performing adequately up to our standard and so on and so forth. Well, it's just reinstating that there. The performance is adequate because we are seeing targets and we are keeping them. Nobody's going to coast suspense. We're not losing anything. Nothing's getting dropped. Flight data on the aircraft that has not been radar identified, so our KLM and our Air France, indicate that it is equipped with a standard transponder, and there is no known information that the transponder is not operating. Well, we can see on our flight progress strips, obviously we have flight data on the aircraft, and they're both slant Lima, and we are like, oh, hey, well, they are definitely being provided for or providing for this condition, both Air France and KLM. So far, so good. And ending our interpretation of the paragraph here, the last condition, radar separation standards are maintained between radar identified aircraft and any other observed targets until transitioning aircraft is radar identified or non-radar separation is established. 1, we already have non-radar rules being established using vertical separation. The aircraft are about to be radar identified because they checked in. We would reply with their squawk code. We'll get to that in just a second because we're frozen in time here. And we would maintain radar separation between our 2 radar identified aircraft and any observed targets, which we were, and which we are now allowed to do. We see that there is radar separation, right? We have worked together long enough in these presentations to understand that projection and seeing where the aircraft will be and seeing where those aircraft are. I'm talking KLM and Air France, and I'm talking about GammaJet and JetBlue. We see them on radar. We can project what their courses look like with the vector lens. We can use common sense to say, hey, these aircraft, upon radar identification, well, even right now, because I have them semi-radar identified, they're no factor. Let me keep this operation going. Let me keep this smooth climb and descent going because I need to make that happen. And actually, it's your duty. That's why we have radar, right? The radar enables you to do that. The radar is not a tool to enable you to be reckless. It is letting you be efficient while you're applying the rules. Think of it that way, okay? So good job. There are a few more conditions in this paragraph that I did not list. I didn't see them be as pertinent as the ones that we are talking about now. If you'd like to take a look at them, feel free to do so. You'd find it in chapter 855. So let's get back to the sector and finish this thing up. Good job, guys. So here it is. I am depending on you to make this happen, right? Do what you need to do and make it happen. So let's pause. So if we paused, let's get a couple of things going here first. First, I would determine to say JetBlue, I would give that aircraft 36. They'll never reach 36. They'll keep going. I could keep GammaJet going down, or maybe even an intermediate altitude. JetBlue 743, climb, maintain level 320. GammaJet 419, descend and maintain level 330. Air France 498, San Juan Center, radar contact, squawk 5643. KLM 728, San Juan Center, radar contact, squawk 1564. Boom. You just gave the 2 aircraft their codes. You radar identified them based upon position verification. You could have asked them to ident. You could have used any of the methods that we have gone over. So it would have been great practice for you to do that. You can go back and try each and every method, ask them to ident. They gave you all the information that is supposed to be given to you in the initial check-in. So now you have those 2 aircraft radar. You mark the strips up accordingly. You have Gamma Jet on their way down to 33, JetBlue 743 on their way to 32. And in the meantime, even though I did not update the strip, we saw that the D side already circled all of that stuff. So if you're the D side and you want to practice your coordination phraseology with New York Center, coordinating the day one estimate for JetBlue 743, feel free to do so. So yeah, this is basically it. What we aim to do is to introduce some rules and techniques to you to help you, one, not be so apprehensive about climbing and descending aircraft in this precarious position that is Lima 462, but feeling good about being a team member and knowing what is applicable to each other. Our side, you should know that the D side needs those coordination items as fast as possible. The quicker they get that done, the quicker they can go back to helping you outscan the giant sector that is Sector 4. It's a huge sector. You can use all the eyes and all the help you can get as an R side. As a D side, what you're looking at is like, how can I get my coordination done, and how can I help make the R side's life easier by ensuring that positive separation in your coordination and writing those little notations that we talked about in a couple presentations along the way leading up to this one on how I can write some nonverbal cues in the event I cannot directly talk to the R side because the individual sitting there working the radar is too busy. So it was a quick open-ended problem. I hope you got some practice here. You can practice your merging target procedures between Gamma Jet and JetBlue. You can practice giving traffic for both KLM and Air France 498. So there's a whole bunch of things that can potentially happen as you take this presentation and kind of make it your own with hypotheticals. So great job with that. I was really happy we were able to introduce you to that rule. It's very empowering because it lets you anticipate separation a little bit, which is not so much a concept in the en route and radar world, which is great. And it kind of lets common sense take the day with, okay, I see these targets there. I know that they have radar separation, right? The 5 miles lateral that I need. Let me keep my plan. Let me keep my operation going. So fantastic job, guys. Really, really, really good job. So let's go to the last slide and we'll give you a fine farewell. Just another day at the beach for sure. You guys did that wonderfully. Negotiated that as a team as you should have. You see how smooth the operation can be when the team is firing on all cylinders. You see how we took concepts from past videos, just another day at the Yayunadu Bay, and just our last presentation with how we taught you the vector in that precarious position along Lima 462. We married concepts that take concepts from the D side and put them together with the R side for one presentation. Gave a little bit of something for everybody to do, whether it be coordination or clearing. Everybody had something to do. And we see how the team concept is a cycle. The quicker the R side gets the information from the aircraft, gets it to the D side for the D side to coordinate, frees up the D side's time to help put the extra set of eyes on Sector 4. And we know Sector 4 geographically is huge and can use all the help we can get scanning that sector, especially during busy times. So the perfection of your skills start obviously with certification, right? You are entrusted that you can run the operation safely. But after that point, you want to focus on, hey, okay, I know I can run this operation safely, but how can I free up my time to help out my other teammates in this radar sector team? And that's your goal. You should aim for that expeditious service, and the efficient factor is what you should be aiming to pursue. And it will come with time as long as you keep that perfection goal in mind. And both as R side and D side. R side freeing up your time. How can I help the D side out? Is there anything else that I owe you to help you complete your job? And coincidentally, once the D side gets all their duties out of the way, how can I help the R side? How can I look at the scope with a sense of purpose and start understanding what exactly is going on? That is a well-rounded team. And that well-rounded team concept is what is going to get you through those busy days where you have multiple aircraft checking on at the same time and all of those aircraft need something to be done with them. So I hope that we introduced these new concepts to you for you to put in that tool belt and add it to the long list of things that we already have learned together. You see how we were able to introduce a few new concepts in this video to complement what we have learned in past videos, right? The one we just did with the Lima 462 vectoring situation and the D-side Yayunedu Bay one that we did a few weeks ago. So it kind of polishes off and just gives you the ultimate viewfinding picture of what you need to do when sector saturation occurs and when multiple aircraft check on. You're able to use these rules and apply them and do so with confidence. So I hope you guys had a fantastic time. I know I did. I was looking forward to bringing up this concept that we talked about in Sector 8, or excuse me, Chapter 8 for a very long time. So as always, it's always wonderful spending part of a day with you, talking air traffic control. It's our love, it's our passion. It's absolutely wonderful. So Steve here, wishing you guys nothing but the best until we see each other again. And may your attitude be just like your separation, positive. I'll see you soon.